Rocket League esports has some incredible casting. The modern RLCS has everything from dazzling shot calls
Team passing play to get it done
to incredible introductions.
Rocket League immortality is a mere 4-game victories away. This is your grand final.
To the passionate, moment-defining shouts that are forever etched into history books. Despite all that, a question occurred to me during the recent World Championship. I wondered to myself, could I, or any random fan for that matter, cast in the RLCS? How difficult would it be? Before you call me crazy, as this understandably sounds a bit odd after talking up how talented the RLCS broadcast team is, just hear me out. My immediate assumption was of course not, but I had no way of truly knowing. How could I get an actual answer? My mind quickly churned, and eureka, I had it. The Rocket League casting experiment was born. Can an amateur fan cast Rocket League as well as an RLCS caster? This is the research question I am seeking to answer, and my initial hypothesis was a simple no. To confirm or disprove my hypothesis, I set up an experiment. I would compare myself to an RLCS broadcast in 4 categories: hype, professionalism, enjoyability, and technical. Hype means getting appropriately amped up for big plays. It is rated from a 1, meaning the viewer was literally falling asleep, to a 10, being the "this is Rocket League" call. Professionalism means remaining collected and poised during the broadcast, and is rated from a 1, being a chaotic watch party, to a 10, being fitting of an Olympics broadcast. Enjoyability means the cast was fun to watch and listen to, and is rated from a 1, meaning the viewer would need to be paid to keep watching, to a 10, meaning they would watch this in their sleep. And finally, technical means avoiding speaking flubs, mistakes, or overly long pauses, and will be compared by directly counting up mistakes, making this the least biased category of them all. Speaking of bias, I did want to avoid it as much as possible, but couldn't avoid it entirely. Ratings are subjective, so I tried to look for a more objective way to compare casting, but I couldn't think of any besides the above technical category. Because personal preference plays a large role in what people prefer out of casting, I decided using subjective ratings was alright, so I moved forward with it despite the potential for bias. Additional bias was added in how I would get said ratings, as ultimately I settled on using my live stream chat and averaging their votes. This was quick and efficient, but introduced elements of bias. For one, these viewers already like me, and they may go a bit easy on me in their ratings. Additionally, I do not have a large following, so only 5 viewers were voting, and a few couldn't even stay for all 3 casts, which was an extremely small sample size. Although this was far from perfect, I pressed on with the experiment. I thought, what better event to compare casting through than the World Championship itself? So I picked 3 random World Championship playoff matches, and I loaded up a random game from each match. I then used ball chasing to download the replay files for each game, and one at a time I cast the games using the in-game replay system. First up was Game 1 from the Army Corps vs Team Vitality semi-final match. I started a bit shaky, but had a mostly coherent string of thoughts going by the first goal of the series. Vitality, one of the best, if not the best, offensive team in the world, but they're going to have to get past this Army Corps defense if they want to win the series. Meanwhile, Army Corps, they can't just stay on defense the whole game, and as I talk about their defense, they do concede. So we find out first here that it will be Vitality taking the goal. It won't win any awards, but I seem to hold up nicely. That said, there is a very clear contrast when compared to the official broadcast.
Vitality fans behind us. I know will their team into this net, but Army Corps won't let them through. Matose, a nice catch.
Slippery stead.
In front of the net. Steve! Of course, it's going to be Zen to clean up off that flip reset. Team Vitality starting us off with a bang.
By my own estimation, my casting was lacking in all 4 categories, but I was especially poor in professionalism and technical. Thankfully, I tightened up my casting the further the experiment went on, which was sorely needed as I moved on to the next comparison, which was Game 3 from the Team Liquid vs Team BDS semi-final matchup. Now BDS though, a nice pass out of Rise, right to Monkey Moon, and it's in! Monkey Moon starts the scoring off quick here, with a 40 seconds in, he gets goal 1. BDS continue their streak, they're on the win streak here. A noticeable improvement, but it still falls short in comparison to the RLCS broadcast.
Team Liquid trying to find some composure here. Rise, a pass out to the box. Aussie's not set. Here comes Monkey Moon. Slotted to the right. You knew that one was going in, and BDS into the lead.
I got a lot better in those weak points from the first cast. Namely, I was making less technical mistakes and was sounding more professional, but I still had more room to grow. I had high spirits going into the last cast, Game 1 of Gen G vs Karmine Corp quarterfinal match, and I was really getting into the casting. Gen G, meanwhile, still need to score one, so you're going to have to look to them to kind of change up their offense. I want to see more passing out of them. Oh, here we go. Karmine Corp, a breakaway goal just out of nowhere. And that's kind of exactly what you want to see out of this team, out of Karmine Corp. And they take a second goal here in Game 1 of the series. Now it's back to Gen G. What can they do? Oh, dangerous for Gen G, and they concede again. Karmine Corp now up 3 goals in this first game. There's only a minute 30 left. Gen G are looking hopeless. This was arguably my best performance yet. Lacking a bit of polish, but I was beginning to deliver on the hype that RLCS Worlds matches deserve while keeping up with the fast-paced gameplay. That said, I couldn't quite catch the main broadcast in any of the 4 categories.
Out of space, Sonic just finding his teammates straight down the gut, and that's going to be 2-0 Karmine Corp.
If you overextend, you might get punished, and this is what Karmine do so well. Exotic can pull up from anywhere he wants, but he leaves it on the pass. It was wide open in the center of the field, and they punch it through.
Apparently, Jack, thinking he had that time to go grab that boost in the midfield, it looked like there was backside support on that challenge from Nolly. Unfortunately, dead wrong, just got dished into the middle. No one in time for Gen G. A lot to do with not a lot of time to work with.
Still your winners quarterfinals, but we got a minute 28 to play, and Itachi has space for days.
Now, I've been a bit hard on myself while describing how these 3 casts went, but the good news is, despite my negative takes, my thoughts don't matter for this experiment. As you may recall, my chat votes on the ratings, not me. And after each game, they not only voted on how I did in each category, but also voted on the official broadcast performance after watching it to compare. With all the votes in, there's only one thing left to do: tally up the results and find out how this experiment did. Speaking of results, analytics show that 97% of my viewers are not subscribed. Please subscribe if you're enjoying the video, I'd really appreciate it. After averaging the ratings votes and counting up the technical mistakes for all 3 games, I had completed the experiment. My findings? I scored surprisingly high, but was still no match for the RLCS pair in any of the games I tried to cast. Even with my own viewers as the voters, I only bested the RLCS casters in 1 category for a single game: the enjoyability of Liquid vs BDS Game 3. And even then, it was incredibly close, with only 0.2 separating the scores. Across all games, enjoyability was the closest category, as I always scored a 9 or better, so I did hold my own there. The other categories were a different story, however, not only favoring the RLCS casters, but with much larger gaps in score. The worst of my ratings were professionalism of Karmine Corp vs Vitality Game 1, where I got a 7.5 compared to the RLCS team's 10, as well as in hype of for Gen G vs Karmine Corp Game 1, where I got a 7 to the RLCS team's 9.4. Those ratings aren't all, unfortunately, as technical ended up being my worst category. I had a mind-boggling 26 flubs compared to the RLCS team's 2 across the 3 games. I was blown out of the water in all 3 casts. With all the evidence in hand, the answer is clear. No, a random fan, myself included, cannot cast a professional match of Rocket League as well as the RLCS broadcast team. My hypothesis was correct, and it lines up with reasonable expectations given how experienced and talented the RLCS casters are. I'm glad that's been settled. Or has it? You see, there's one big problem with the experiment I never addressed. RLCS casters come in pairs, while I cast it alone. Looks like I need some backup.